Hey, it's Adam Ward, and I'm here to explain A3 thinking. Several years ago, I did a very popular video that showed our 9-box approach to creating an A3. Now, an A3 is simply the size of a piece of paper. What operational excellence practitioners have done is made it into a problem-solving methodology. Now, one of the things that I want to highlight about the problem solving is that it's about correcting a problem, and it's about something that exists already. This is not a tool for innovating. This is for something that you have in place and you have an issue. So the very first thing that you're going to want to do when you create an A3 is establish your rally cry. So this format will be in something that you could drop easily into a PowerPoint presentation that won't look foreign to executives. That'll be something very simple that they can do. Now, the reason they used an A3 piece of paper was so that they could tell the entire story on a single sheet of paper. So the very first thing that we need to do is the problem is, therefore, we must do this so that this will happen. Now, the reason this is important is because it has to get everyone behind you. Some people will call it the burning platform. Some people will call it the reason for action. The example that I want to give right now is my own personal transformation. How I went from an overweight couch potato to a world-class Ironman. Now, the problem that I had was that I was unhealthy, out of shape, my kids were getting into high school, and I wanted to be able to live long enough to see their children and hopefully their grandchildren. Therefore, I had to change my lifestyle so that I could stay around and be there as a grandfather later. Now, after we have this rally cry, this powerful statement that we really believe, we need to dig in a little deeper and define, what does today look like? Okay, we need to define today, and today should be defined in several different ways. We need to know what today looks like, we need to know how today feels, and we need to know how we are performing today. So if I go back to where I was and say, oh, this is how today looked back when I needed to start. If I jumped on the scale to see how I was performing, it's very high. If I looked at my cholesterol, LDL and HDL, it was very high. And if I see how I felt, I was always out of energy and tired. Now, what I need to do is say, okay, in the future, how do I want to be? So I can take this entire block here, right? And I can say, now, maybe I don't want to be thin. Well, yes, but maybe I just want to say, I'll keep it around 200 or less. Let's keep the LDL and HDL around 200. And let's say I want to have some type of energy for after work or when the kids want to play with me, that I still have that. Now, what happens between today and the future that we need to get things fixed? This right here is the gap, okay? We have to ID what is the gap that's keeping us from between these two things. Now, a typical tool would be a YY or Nishikawa diagram. Now, I'm just going to make it simple. Okay, we know that this is what I was like, and we know that this is how I ended out. I ate poorly, right? Every time I saw the Golden Arches, I was there getting a quarter pounder or some value menu. I barely exercised. This is not new to any of us who've been out of shape. We know that if we do these two things, that we're going to be in rough shape. Now, there's other things that contributed to this, and that was my time management. So if I look at a clock and I look at the 24 hours, I had zero margin. So if I can see these basic gaps, and that's what's keeping me between here and here, then we can do next is we can dream up what are potential solutions for things that we can do to address that. Well, number one, stop eating French fries, right? Adam, when you go by McDonald's, you have to go by McDonald's. You can't drive into the parking lot. You have to actually stop eating French fries and start eating something else like salmon or avocado or whole grains. Now with the exercise, I also need to move. Start moving naturally. So stop sitting around, stop taking the car everywhere. What can I do? And the last thing is I need to create margin in my calendar. Too busy, I had filled it with too many different things. Now, these are the different things that I needed to do. Now, the next piece would be, what can I do to actually address these gaps in a practical format? Now, what did I decide to do? I'm going to draw the logo for the Iron Man, but that is not where I decided to start. I decided to start with a simple sprint triathlon consisting of a 400-yard swim, a 16-mile bike, and a 5K run. So this triathlon represented me being able to do all these things so I could finish this race that would take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Now, getting across that finish line meant I had to do some stuff. So I had to come up with my to-do list. So what did I have to do? Who had to do it? And when did I have to do it? So obviously I had to register for the tri. That was me, and I had to do it by 6/1. I had to learn how to swim. I had to start jogging. You get the picture. Me, had to pick dates for these and had to make sure that I was doing that. Now, all of these things started to contribute to my weight dropping, my LDLs increasing, my HDLs going down, my energy coming up. So in traditional A3 thinking, when we get our observed performance equal to this performance, we know that this A3 has accomplished what it wants. So we need to create some type of chart, existing performance, future performance, timeline, and see how we're approaching what we want to achieve. Now in this case, I actually want it to go down from 250 to 200. And once I hit that dotted line, I've done what I needed to do. At the end, when we've accomplished this whole thing, we can come up with what are our reflections. Now, on a PowerPoint slide, we could easily have this inserted as a text document that comes in at the end and covers the entire story. This is A3 thinking in a nutshell. It can be applied to any problem-solving effort with an existing process, and I would challenge you to try it today.